Hello there. Welcome to another exciting installment of Chuck's Captivating Chat, the edition for September 23rd, 2024. As usual, I'm just immersed in a lot of my work. And about 2 minutes before it was time to go on the air, I had to drop what I was doing and get on here very quickly. So I'm about 45 seconds late, but I made it. We're having another little bit of a heat wave here in Los Angeles. We thought we were done. I knew better than that. I knew there was going to be more to come. And if it stays true to form, we will probably have another big heat wave in October. There was one year the heat wave kept on through November, through Thanksgiving. I remember that Thanksgiving because I had a friend who invited me over for dinner, and we had to sit outside on a bench, picnic table bench outside to have our turkey dinner and everything because it was so frigging hot that day. And then the heat wave proceeded to go into December. You know, when you're hearing all the holiday music, you're seeing the Christmas commercials on TV. And I remember I was trying to put up a tree early December, and I had to be careful because I was dripping so much sweat, and I had 3 fans blowing at my air conditioner, and I was trying to not get sweat on my ornaments as I hung them on the tree. Meantime, on television, they're showing the stereotypical snow and the sleighs and jingle bells and all that, you know. So anyway, that's part of what it's like to live in La La Land here in Los Angeles. It's a very distorted, skewered reality. I can say that having come from the East Coast. It seems like most people who come to Los Angeles, you know, are transplants here. Not a lot of natives. I think that's why come holiday time, this city is deserted, because it's everybody flying back to the Midwest and the East Coast to be with their families. But I've adjusted to it. You know, there's a part of me that misses snow. I miss having real winters. I miss having real falls. By that, I mean autumn, of course, obviously. Sweater weather, fires in the fireplace, hot chocolate. No, a little hard to do that when it's 87 degrees outside. Anyway, I hope you guys are doing well. And well, let's see, what have I been up to? You know, I try consciously to avoid politics. I've said that before, but then I realized I do Dr. Whimsy Anderson's show on Tuesdays, Taco Tuesdays on the Oracle of Whimsy, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, where we tend to get very political on there, and it's no secret who I support. You know, I've always been of the belief that you don't want to alienate your audiences. You know, I work as a professional artist. I don't want to offend people who could be clients. But anybody who knows me, and there are quite a few who know me on that show, know, yeah, I do support the Democratic Party. I support Kamala Harris. But I say that in that I very much respect everybody's individual political opinions, and I please support whomever is in your heart, in your passion, reflective of your own values. I used to feel that was a given. That was a given. You didn't even have to say things like that. But you know, most of my childhood and adult life, it has been you agree to disagree when it comes to politics. You know, certainly when you're talking with friends, like-minded people, it's more like preaching to the choir. When it's somebody who has a different political opinion, I've had to learn the hard way that I'm not going to change their political opinion, and they're not going to change mine. So it's like going down a rabbit hole, you know, with people who disagree. I like the idea of let's just agree to disagree. There's plenty more things that we can discuss and share in common. Um, the George H.W. Bush and his wife Barbara were very close with Bill and Hillary Clinton, particularly with Bill Clinton. And oh, hi, Diane. Hi, Kate. Thank you for joining me. Thank you so much. So anyway, I was just saying that, the Bushes and the Clintons shared a strong friendship. And I saw an interview with Barbara Bush where she was asked about it. And she just said, I love Bill Clinton. I love him. He's one of our dearest friends. And the interviewer said, well, don't you have political disagreements? And she said, we don't talk politics. We talk about other things. I like that. I like that. And I love the fact that Bill Clinton and George H.W. Bush had a very genuine friendship with each other. And they were able to put differences aside. And I wish it were more like that. But it seems like in the last 8 years since the 2016 election, those dynamics have changed for the worse. It's not so much just agreeing to disagree. And I learned the hard way on social media not to bring up politics, to keep them to myself, because I stupidly took the bait. And a lot of people, that's what they want to do. They want to bait you. They want to get responses from you so they can start these arguments. And so places like Facebook, I found myself getting into ridiculous arguments, political arguments with total strangers, where it just got nastier and nastier. And what I found from the other side is, I'm not generalizing here, I promise, but I just found a lot of really mean-spirited bullies. And it got so nasty that I actually had a couple of death threats. Not that I took these seriously, mind you, but it was just the fact that people would take action like that. I got them in my private message boxes on 2 occasions were death threats from these people that I was arguing with over politics. I thought, this is crazy. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to do it. But this has been such a part of my life the last week. And because I do talk about politics on the other show. Yes, Kate, never feed trolls. I've mentioned that before because, since I started doing this channel, and I 99% of the comments are just wonderful. People may disagree or something, or point out something, or want to correct me on something. Most of it's very, very positive. You will get the trolls, just mean, like making derogatory comments about my physical appearance. One man saying, you have food on the corner of your mouth while you're talking. I said, that's nonsense. I would never be that dumb to go on the air with food on the corner of my mouth. But it was just things like that. And it's like, whatever. And when I first started doing this, I answered a few of those people. And oh, yeah. As Kate, as you just said, never feed trolls. That's exactly what you're doing. You feed the trolls, and it just starts to escalate, and you just have to let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Don't feed these people. But that's what it is like with politics. So that's why, again, I say, please, pardon me, my nose itch. I say, please support whomever you're passionate about, whoever reflects your beliefs. That's your right. That's a sacred privilege. But that said, I want to do my part to help Kamala Harris. I believe in her very passionately. I have followed her career since she was our state attorney general, and then she was our state senator. And in 2016, there was a debate when she was running for the Senate. It was aired on local television here. And this was when most of the country did not even know who she was. And I was fascinated with her. I saw probably one of the most brilliant politicians I've ever observed in my life. Such a keen mind, such talent, such heart. And I knew, I knew in my gut she was going to be very big on the national stage, a major star in the Democratic Party. I had no idea it was going to be the vice presidency and possibly the presidency. But anyway, the reason I bring this up is because I showed some whimsy show last week. I did this portrait in watercolor of Kamala Harris. And I've started work on another one. And I have reached out to branches of the Democratic Party websites. I've gone to some places in person trying to find out how can I put this to use for her behalf. Like, could this be sold in a silent auction at one of these big ticket fundraisers? Could it be used for something else? I don't know. I'm trying to explore and find that out right now. So that was one of my projects over the weekend. And I went to the Democratic headquarters in Pasadena and I asked, how can I volunteer? How can you use me? And again, I'm saying this for all you Republicans, whatever party you have. I'm just saying it's good to take action in what you believe in, what you feel passionate about. So please, it's not just, this is just me talking about what I did, but they told me that postcards, handwritten postcards, being careful not to show addresses here. I wrote about 25 of these out. Took about 4 hours to do this, but they said that handwritten postcards get attention. It's that personal touch, and it's a great way to reach out. So they gave me a packet, 25, with a script of what they would like to say and addresses. We're sending them out to different states. I chose Florida. And that's what I did. And I've got to get these to the post office and get them in the mail. But I'm talking about this also because it's such a good feeling to not just sit back and observe when you want to make a difference. You want to do anything. And I realized even small actions like this reverberate out into the world. I think when we're putting our heart and soul into something, that gets out to the universe. It gets recognized. It touches hearts and minds. So anyway, that has been what I've been doing this week. I hope I haven't offended people by disclosing some political beliefs here, but I think we just have to do what we have to do. The bottom line is I love my country. I care very, very much about what's going on. So let's see here. I said that I had to drop what I was doing to do this show. What I was doing was making phone calls for Dr. Whimsy because I, in real life, act as her assistant, her professional assistant. I'm a naturopathic doctor's assistant. I'm licensed, presently retired from it right now. I live a semi-retired life right now. I've been doing so ever since the pandemic, which took care of my permanent job, but I'm finding doing freelance work, different aspects, I have my hands in a lot of things, is actually helping me to make a better living than before, and I'm a lot happier. I work from home, and the downside of that is if I were to flip this camera around, you would see what a mess the rest of my home is right now. It is just chaos. I need to do serious housework, and more than housework, I need a blowtorch and I need a steam shovel. Yellow hazard tape. This camera angle hides a multitude of sins, but and I live in a small space, so when you do things like I do, like freelance writing, assistant work for a doctor, I do artwork. So the artwork is the biggest culprit because I have paints and brushes everywhere, pens, pencils, paper, canvases, completed canvas paintings sitting around here, and I just don't have the space that I wish I had for all of this, but I make the best of it. So I thought, what am I going to talk about today? Maybe I said too much in talking about politics, because this is something I rarely do. I don't. I like this show to be fun. I like this to be what I originally set it out to be, old Hollywood. All my experience working on a book with Bart Andrews about I Love Lucy. I have hundreds of Lucille Ball, I Love Lucy stories in my head. I have old Hollywood stories in my head. As Bart, my dear late friend Bart Andrews used to say, Chuck, you and I have a head full of worthless information. But we're walking encyclopedias just the same. One of the things that's been fun about doing this channel, and when I make my videos, and I can sometimes just hold my phone up to my face and start talking. I just have a topic and start talking. You've seen me do it on this show. I can just start talking about a topic. If any of you have a question about old Hollywood or something you'd like to know about, throw it at me. I'd like to hear it. But let's see, last week, I got to keep track of what I talked about last week. I have, I'll show you this. I have all of these different notebooks here. This is how I keep track of all the different things I'm doing. This is the notebook I keep here for the channel and for the show. And I'm looking at what I discussed last week. And I was mentioning the Emmys and Meryl Streep and Carol Burnett. And I haven't seen anything more about that since, but I mentioned there was a very sweet moment in a television special before the Emmys where Carol Burnett said her dream has been to work with Meryl Streep. And they didn't show that. They told Meryl Streep when she was being interviewed for the same special. And Meryl Streep just said, oh, I love Carol Burnett. And she looked into the camera and said, Carol, I'm available. And I haven't heard anything since, but I'm really, really hoping those two ladies get together and do something, like the old days when Carol Burnett used to do these, in addition to her wonderful variety series, she used to do occasional specials, like she did 3 incredible variety specials with Julie Andrews. The first one, Julie and Carol at Carnegie Hall. And then she did one with Dolly Parton in Nashville. And she did one with Beverly Sills. I think they did that one at Lincoln Center, but I'm not sure. But I just thought, come on, you already got the title here. Meryl and Carol, or Carol and Meryl, whichever, at Carnegie Hall or wherever they choose to perform. But wouldn't that be great to see those two ladies together? And as Carol was pointing out, Meryl Streep is so funny. She's a great comedian, and she also has a fabulous singing voice. I think the two ladies would work great together, and I hope that happens. Let's see, at the top of the show, I was just talking about my East Coast experiences and moving out to Los Angeles. And what's this coming here? Carol had a small dramatic role in the last season of Better Call Saul. Yes. Oh, Carol Burnett is an excellent dramatic actress. It was the year after she ended her variety show. She did a made-for-television movie called Friendly Fire. Highly recommended. I don't know if it's available on YouTube, DVD, but Carol Burnett gave a deadly serious, full-on dramatic performance. There was not a trace of her comedy in this performance, and she was electrifying and so heartfelt. She played the mother of a son who was killed in Vietnam, and allegedly it was by friendly fire, meaning by our own side. He was accidentally killed, and Carol's character and Ned Beatty played her husband. They felt they were not being told the truth, and they went on a very big crusade to try to bring the truth forward. But I just remember there's this scene where Carol Burnett is standing over her son's coffin, and she just starts quivering and quivering, and it's almost a frightening scene because there's dead silence except for her hands are on the handles of the coffin, and you hear the rattling of the coffin and Carol shaking uncontrollably. And amazing. And and I've said this before, when I used to study acting with Dee Wallace played the mother in the movie E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Wonderful, wonderful woman. She taught us that comedy is always played exactly the way you would play a dramatic scene. She said you play it with the same honesty, you play it with the same intention, absolute truth. And she said the only difference is your stakes are going to be a little higher, elevated stakes, and of course you're going to incorporate comedic timing. But this is why actors will often say comedy is far more difficult to do than drama. You've got to have that base, that dramatic base. So that's why it never, ever surprises me when I see great comedians take on dramatic roles and pull it off so well, as they should. Lucille Ball did some wonderful dramatic work, particularly before she did I Love Lucy and became known as the greatest comedian in the world. There was a film she did in 1942 called The Big Street, where she played a bitch. And she was so scared to do the role because it was so mean. It was so unsympathetic. And it was the actor Charles Lawton she was friends with. And he advised her. And he said, Lucy, if you're going to play a bitch, play the biggest bitch there ever was. Commit to it. And she did. And it's quite a performance. The film is not so great, but she is so memorable in this. And it was rare in those days. Even Bette Davis, actresses like that, I don't think went as far as Lucy went in this film, to be completely unsympathetic and so unlikable. But that was hey, I'm getting to work in my Lucy story here. That was the performance, the film that got MGM to take notice of her. This was when Lucy was at RKO, which was not as nearly as big of a studio as MGM, and her contract was running out. And MGM expressed interest in her. And that was huge for Lucy because she felt she made it to MGM. She had really made it. And she also wanted to go to MGM because, well, thank you, Diane. Yeah, I plan to write a book, actually. I love to write. And I almost sold a book about I Love Lucy a few years ago, but we ran into a lot of legalities, politics with CBS, with Lucie Arnaz, Desi Jr., Random House, the publisher, the senior editor wanted my book, but the money people shot it down. The quote unquote money people who make the final decisions, because when you do nonfiction, you have things like this: licensing to CBS, royalties that have to be paid to the estate of the people involved, in this case, the children, photographs. This was not but we were quoted, Bart and I, my writing partner, we were quoted, we were going to have to come out of our own pockets, $20,000 for the rights for the photographs. And also, you've got to have lawyers comb through a manuscript for something nonfiction just to make sure there's nothing libelous in there. So they shot it down for being too expensive. That's what happened to my book, but I don't give up. Meantime, I get to satisfy my little itchings to tell Hollywood stories, doing the show, doing my videos. But yeah, I think there's a book in my future. Thank you for mentioning that. No, I won't give up. I promise you that. It's just, I have so many irons in the fire right now, so many things going on, and that's how, we'll get around to this eventually. What was that? Molly said, allegedly, Lucy. I'm not sure what you mean, allegedly. But yeah, Lucy is the person I spent 3 years of my life doing heavy, heavy research on, and it was my love, it was my passion, it was my joy, and ultimately it was my heartache when that book did not sell. And I keep thinking, uh, I will find a use for this material. I mean, I've worked it into the show, I've worked it into videos. Maybe I can rewrite some pieces, turn it into smaller segments. Maybe I could even turn it into a script for something, a play. Well, as long as you use this word, you're safe. Oh, I see what you mean about allegedly. Well, the problem with that is you can't just keep saying allegedly, allegedly, allegedly throughout the entire book from beginning to end. And even if I had said allegedly, it still would not have gotten around the fact that I would have owed 15% of the gross of the book to CBS. I think I forget the percentage that would have gone to the children, the money that would have gone to the photos. So, as I said earlier, that's what had more to do with killing the book. It was just money more than anything. But yeah, I am aware of that, about how you can say words such as allegedly. I always have to be careful with language. I learned that when I was in the health industry. Vitamins, herbs, homeopathy. When you are selling things in the health industry, you have to be extremely careful in your language. Like, just say, studies have shown. This has been found to help with so and so. You can't just make a medical claim, because you could have your business shut down. You could get personally sued for that. After I trained with Dr. Wimsey Anderson and I got my naturopathic doctor's assistant license, that gives me more freeway to make medical claims. But I learned in those days to always be very, very careful in what I say, especially when you go on a show like this or you make videos. Sometimes I have had to use words like allegedly, just because there are people still living, or I don't want to hurt people. Well, I also look at it as a matter of integrity. If I am not 100% certain about my facts, I don't want to make claims. I care about that for my own reputation. So anyway, that's where I've been with that. And I got off track here. What was I talking about? Yeah, I was talking about Lucy in the Big Street. She took on the challenge of playing a very unsympathetic character. First time she worked with Henry Fonda, and she and Henry had the most beautiful chemistry with each other. They even did a television special together in 1961. And one of my favorite movies of all time, Yours, Mine, and Ours, in 1968. They teamed together again. She and Henry Fonda had beautiful chemistry together. It was just as much what was unspoken between them on screen as what was said. So much underlying, so much going on between them. You could just see they were very fond of each other. And I also did a video a while back in front of Barney's Beanery in West Hollywood, which goes back to 1920. And Barney's Beanery has quite a history as a celebrity hangout over the years, over the decades, I should say. But in the 1930s, I told the story of how Lucille Ball, she was dating Henry Fonda, and her good friend Ginger Rogers was dating Jimmy Stewart. And the four of them would double date together. They'd go out to the nightclubs, and then in the wee hours of the morning, go over to Barney's Beanery and have breakfast, and as the sun was coming up in the morning. And Henry Fonda used to love to tell this story. It wasn't too flattering, but he would tell it at things like I don't know if you've ever seen the Dean Martin roasts they did back in the 70s, and there was the time they roasted Lucille Ball, and Henry Fonda, of course, got up to the podium and told this story about the double date. And Lucy was wearing this very, very heavy makeup, which looked okay in the evening, but he got a good look at her in the stark daylight as the sun had come up. And supposedly Henry Fonda said, "Yuck," to Lucy. Now, I don't know how Lucy responded to that at the time, but she had a good laugh on the roast. It's even been okay, I'm going to say something allegedly here. Thank you, Molly. I'm going to say it here. Yes, Molly, cake face. Yeah, heavy pancake makeup and grease paint and all that, But this is where the word allegedly does come up good. Thank you for reminding me, Molly. Allegedly, as I said, they had dated in the 30s. Well, allegedly, as Lucy and Desi's marriage had disintegrated in the mid to latter 50s, Lucy, well, let's see, this was in Desi Arnaz's autobiography. When they had a really, really bad fight. And, we hear all about Desi's womanizing. Well, Lucy allegedly had her men also. And Henry Fonda may have been that man. Desi Arnaz confronted her with a matchbook with a phone number on it. And as he graciously said in his autobiography, he did not name names. He just said, "This is the phone number of a man in New York, and I know you've been seeing him." And he said Lucy blushed and was very embarrassed and conceited. And I asked a friend of mine he has written his own book about Lucille Ball, and I said, "Do you know who that man was?" And he said, "Yeah, it was Henry Fonda. She was having an affair with Henry Fonda." And I don't say this, please know, this is not judgmental. We're talking about human beings here. Human beings who were in a lot of pain. They were under a lot of pressure. The marriage had fallen apart. According to both of them, the last 5 years, it was more in name than anything. They were hardly even sleeping together anymore. Desi supposedly was going off to the Chateau Marmont to stay, but they had to stay together and they had to put up fronts because of contractual obligations for I Love Lucy. And that was back in the era of morals clauses. You could not have any kind of scandal associated with your name. That would just bring everything down, as they found from the Red Scare, the Communist Scare in the early 50s. So they had all of these contractual deals, CBS with their sponsors. They also had other product endorsement deals. There was all kinds of licensing at that time for things like I Love Lucy furniture, bedroom sets, I Love Lucy pajamas, I Love Lucy baby clothes, I Love Lucy strollers, dolls, carriages, you name it. It was, so many things were licensed out, so they could not afford scandal. And I think they did love each other. I mean, we know that. They loved each other to the Desi Arnaz's dying day. And I've told that story of how he was nearly in a coma. And Lucy Arnaz called her mother up on the phone and said, "Mom, if there's anything you want to say to him, you better say it now, because I don't think he's going to be around much longer." And she held the phone to Desi's ear. And Lucy Arnaz, she tells this story. She overheard it. She heard her deep voice Lucy had. "Desi, I love you. 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 I love you." She kept singing it over and over. And according to Lucy Arnaz, Desi was so weak. And he said, "I love you too, sweetheart." And then after they hung up, Desi closed his eyes and went back into a coma and never awakened. literally the last voice he ever heard, the last person he ever talked to was Lucy. And they told each other they loved each other. So they loved each other, but they had just reached a point where they were too incompatible, too many differences, too much pressure. I think a lot of it was just the pressure of their careers. Their careers were so wrapped up together in this Desi-Lou universe. So in desperation and need of solace, they turned to others. And apparently, allegedly, Lucy turned to Henry Fonda, as the story goes. And I do say allegedly. So anyway, I've managed to fill up about close to 40 minutes here. I should wrap this up soon. You know, I do this show not knowing what I'm going to talk about many times. I just get on here and trust that I will be guided. And I trust that all of you wonderful people out there who comment will give me topics also. And it's fun. It's fun just to ride and see where this takes us all. So I'm going to sign out for now, but please check me out on the Oracle of Whimsy channel. Dr. Whimsy Anderson, who is a gifted, what's that? Oh, Molly, yes, so nice to run into you also. Thank you. But Dr. Whimsy is a fabulous naturopathic doctor, and she is a gifted intuitive. She specializes in heart-centered remote viewing, tarot reading. I know that's odd for a doctor to do this, but she keeps the two careers very distinct and is her assistant. It's part of my job when I'm booking appointments, when I'm talking about her to people, that I keep her two careers very, very defined and distinctly apart, because they don't go together. But anyway, I do her show, so please, if you feel so inclined, watch us 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Talk about politics, current events. We do some readings on there, have some laughs, because Whimsy and I used to work together way back. That's how we met. And we used to get into trouble all the time for talking too much. Now, we get to talk all we want. No one's here to stop us. So it's fun. So check us out. And I haven't put up any new videos for a while. I've been going back into my archives, putting up some reruns. But I have over 700 videos on my channel, Chuck's Captivating Chronicles. If you'd ever like to check that out. Lots of old Hollywood, lots of Lucille Ball. Talk about my artwork, such as this piece here. I'm still trying to figure out what to do with for the highest good. So I'm putting out into the universe. Maybe some of you even have suggestions. So I thank you so very much for joining me. I know I'm preaching to the choir here to say, please like and subscribe. Chuck's Captivating Chronicles, as most of you probably already have. But I also find that after I do the show, I get a lot of people who watch the recording, and they do check me out, and they do start discovering me. So it's just a little reminder. But all of you who have joined me, please know how grateful I always am for you. I send you my love, and I'll be here next week. Same time, same place. Goodbye.